looks like the parking brake light is staying on no matter what I do. And that is a problem. And it is one of the problems that we're going to cover in today's top 5 problems video on this 4th generation Infiniti G37. On a lot of these vehicles, what happens with the parking brake pedal assembly is when you go to disengage it like this, it'll get stuck partially up, or sometimes won't even release at all, but most of the time it just won't release fully, just partially. The light will stay illuminated on the dash, the brake light, that will indicate that this is an issue. What also happens is when it's not fully released, let's say it releases about 3/4 of the way and it sits like this, the cable is now pulling on the parking brake shoes, making them touch up against the rotor, causing friction, causing them to wear out prematurely, really fast actually. It can overheat the brakes, you can damage your wheel bearing, caliper, so a lot of bad things can happen if you drive like this. So if you notice this, what you can try, just to temporarily disengage it, is try to engage it again, and when you disengage the pedal, try to pull it back with your foot. A lot of times that'll do the trick. Now, just as a side note, the brake light on the dash also indicates low brake fluid level. So if you're 100% sure that your parking brake pedal is operating perfectly fine and it is not because of that, check your brake fluid level, and you want to make sure it's topped off and at least above the minimum line, because if it's below, you probably have a leak somewhere that needs to be addressed as soon as possible, because that can get pretty dangerous. Now, if you happen to have this issue and you think your parking brake shoes or rotors or really any sort of rear brake components need to be replaced to correct the issue back here after you've resolved the parking brake pedal situation, check us out at oneauto.com and get yourself new shoes, new brake pads and rotors, and anything else that you might need to fix the rear end of the vehicle properly so you can drive down the road safely. Second problem on this vehicle is going to be a crank but no start. So when you go to start your vehicle, you hear the engine turn over, but nothing actually happens. You'll pull the check engine light code, which most likely the check engine light will be on, and it'll come back with a P0340 code. That is a camshaft position sensor code. This can go one of two ways. One, you could have a sensor that is completely gone. It's dead, it's not reading anything, and that just needs to be replaced. I would actually replace both. That is my suggestion, because they both have worked just as long, and if one is bad, the other one is gonna go soon as well. We do offer those, so check us out at oneauto.com if you need them. Our third problem is going to be a purge valve issue. And yeah, that's common on all vehicles, but these ones particularly, they tend to stick open or closed, and once they do, they won't flow properly. You'll get a check engine light telling you that there is an issue with the purge valve. Unfortunately, the only thing you can really do to actually fix this problem is to replace that valve, and then when the engine or the computer is commanding it shut to seal up the fuel system, it'll be shut, and when it's open, that purge valve allows you to pull in the fuel fumes and have them recirculated and burnt as opposed to going out in the atmosphere. It'll actually do that, and that should fix your problem. Our fourth problem on this vehicle has to do with timing chains. What you'll notice, if this is an issue, is on higher mileage vehicles, if the oil hasn't been changed frequently, it'll stretch or jump timing on the camshaft, neither of which are good. You'll notice lack of acceleration, rough idle, rough running in general, a bunch of codes, check engine light of course, with misfires, misfire codes, variable valve timing codes. It's unhappy. The engine will run, but it's not going to be great. One main takeaway here is to change your oil frequently, because sludge and old oil will wear that out really fast again, and you'll be in the same spot. So keep up on those oil changes and you should be good to go. Our fifth and final problem on this vehicle has to do with the navigation, or the infotainment system, so to speak, if you don't have GPS on here. So what it does is it freezes, and usually to get it functioning again, you just have to shut the ignition off, or push the button, because this doesn't have an actual key. And once you wait a few minutes, it'll reset, power back up, and it should be fine. However, the real fix for this is going to have to be a software update installed by the dealer. That should fix the freezing issue, and you should be good to go. One last bonus tip I want to leave you with actually has to do with the engine. And I know I touched upon sludge building up in these engines, but oil consumption is also an issue on these. And when it burns oil, that means you're gonna run low, especially if you extend those oil change intervals. And that is a problem for many things inside the engine that you want to avoid. So not only you keep up on the oil changes, but between them, make sure it stays topped off.